Welcome back to another weekly Web3 digest with me, Jacob Block, the founder of Magnet. Magnet is a best-in-class growth consultancy company right here in crypto. We've had growth for dozens of projects with combined market caps of over $1 billion. And on these weekly Web3 digests, we're coming to give you the deep dive into what's been going on in the past week in crypto. We're not going to talk about the prices, we're not going to look at charts, we're going to get into the business side of crypto, how this industry is developing, the major developments and movements that we've witnessed. We're going to give you exactly what you need to know to make sure you're on top of everything that's going on in this industry. So without further ado, let's get into the weekly Web3 digest. So we can't have a weekly Web3 digest without talking about that word, tariffs. So tariffs, again, still very much in the air right now. It remains to be unseen, really, whether the situation will be resolved soon or will take some time to unfold. And as soon as we do have that clarity, if we have that clarity that it's going to be resolved soon, I think we're going to pump. I really do think we're gonna go well, because we're going to have some form of macroeconomic stability and a view on how that looks like in the near future. We had a pretty decent week on the markets this week. However, we're never going to explode through any kind of caps or ranges that we're trading in right now until we have that macroeconomic stability. There's way too much institutional money in the market right now, and way too many people that are viewing crypto based on what's happening in the world and the world economy. So we really need that if we are to move forward. And the one key thing to watch here is this 90-day tariff pause, which will expire on the 8th of July. And last week we had the positivity of Trump's reconciliation with Jerome Powell, which brought some positivity to the markets as well. And with this, we saw good gains in the stock market, and we also saw good gains in crypto market as well, with Bitcoin jumping 10%. On to the next point. Now, this is a point that, you know what, your boy has been waiting for such a long time. And the reason for this is because, yes, I hold this token. Disclaimer. But secondly, it was not looking good. And I'm talking about Ethereum here. So the L1 space has developed so much in the last couple of years, especially with the rise of competing blockchains such as Base and Solana. Ethereum really needs to sort out the fact that it's not really a solution for builders. Like, no one in this day and age goes and builds a new protocol and goes, oh, you know what, I'm going to build on ETH, because of transaction costs and speeds. So we've needed some form of fundamental change to come around, or be hinted to come around. And we kind of got that this week. So Vitalik Buterin has proposed replacing the Ethereum virtual machine with RISC-V, RISC-V, let's call it that. And this is to improve the L1's efficiency. So that will improve, transaction speed and costs. So this could deliver over 100 times performance gains while preserving the key features on Ethereum. It's still very early in its stages, this proposal, and it could take years to materialize. We know Ether moved quite slow, but it does reignite that discussion around being able to scale Ethereum. And Ethereum, in my opinion, does need to adapt to something like this if they are to compete. Otherwise, the way I look at Ethereum now is it could be like the mobile phone market, where you have the likes of BlackBerry that were pioneering the future of smartphones, and then Apple came along and just said, thanks for starting this, we're going to finish it. So yeah, Ethereum really does need to do something like this. And it was great to actually hear Ethereum do something for once, other than the Ethereum Foundation just selling ETH. Anyway, on to the next point. So last week, we experienced the anniversary of the Bitcoin halving. Much anticipated event last year. 20th of April was the halving date, where we went from block rewards of around 6 Bitcoins down to 3.125. Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy industry, because I think every time we've had a Bitcoin halving, markets post-Bitcoin halving have pumped, and we don't really get that. So we're in uncharted territories in terms of normal market trends that we've seen since the kind of birth of crypto. It's such a big point of crypto, Bitcoin halving, and it being the anniversary since it happened last year, because obviously this happens every 4 years, that I had to bring it up in this video. So yeah, essentially we didn't get the Bitcoin halving pump that we're used to having. And there's obviously a lot of reasons for that. If you watch this weekly Web3 digest, you'll know a lot of those reasons. Obviously, a big one right now is the macroeconomic stability that's out there, or it's not stable right now. That's what we're lacking. So yeah, there are a fair few reasons for this. We can see how Bitcoin has surged and done very well as a positive factor from the halving. It's had an incredible year, the last year, especially in comparison to the rest of the market. However, everything else hasn't quite had that pump for Bitcoin this time round. The next bit of news is to do with Trump token. Now, Trump token's a really hard one for a lot of people in crypto, especially if you were someone who missed it. And obviously it pumped like crazy and it's pretty much just come down from there. But last week, the president's cabinet or just Trump's team announced that the holders of Trump token or the top holders are going to be able to have a dinner with the president. So this is like the first sign of some form of utility that this token is bringing to the table, literally the table. So it's kind of sparked a bit of debate as to whether Trump should be doing this based on his current position. But I think it's good because he's actually bringing some use case to that token. And maybe it's a potential site for further use case in the Trump meme token moving forward. Time will tell, we'll have to see. But either way, it's a development that we had to mention here today. The next bit of news here is that Bitcoin overtook Amazon and Google in terms of market capitalization to become the 5th biggest asset in the world. Let's have a little look at why this happened. So in previous years, tech giants like Amazon and Google have seen their valuations dip as they're facing headwinds from market volatility and slowing growth. Meanwhile, Bitcoin has obviously stayed strong. It's the leader of this industry, crypto. It's had a lot of institutional money come into it. So there's been inflows essentially that traditional tech stocks that are super established haven't had. And that's one reason why Bitcoin has managed to kind of outflourish these existing kind of very, very, very valuable assets. And I think the other side as well is that investors are really starting to view Bitcoin as a store of value now, which brings something new to the table that, let's say, a stock doesn't. It's kind of just knocking on the door of all of these hugely valuable assets and just knocking past them one by one. Like, to think that Bitcoin, this magic token that was just created on the internet over a decade ago, is now all of a sudden the 5th most valuable asset in the whole world. This one thing that no one took seriously is crazy. And the final part of the weekly Web3 digest is that MicroStrategy just keep on buying Bitcoin. So Michael Saylor, if you're in crypto, you obviously know who he is, but they've acquired another 6,500 Bitcoin for around 555 million, increasing their total holdings to over 500,000 Bitcoin. They actually now own 538,000 Bitcoin, which is valued at over $47 billion. So they are really by far the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin. They just keep buying no matter what the price is. So it's pretty crazy. But there are also now, and this is something really important to think about, over 70 crypto ETFs that are awaiting SEC approval. And obviously with Trump now in charge of the US, the likelihood of this happening has probably increased. And there's 70 crypto ETFs that are waiting for approval so that they can be traded as options. Obviously this includes things like XRP, Sol, LTC, Doge, DOT, and many others. And obviously I would probably say out of these two, high demand for Solana and XRP based products. And yeah, there's been a lot more filings for those other than other assets. But either way, the institutional world could be coming to the rest of the crypto market far beyond just Bitcoin very, very soon. Anyway, that's all we've got time for today. You are now in the loop with what's going on in the crypto industry in the last week. And yeah, every single week we do one of these. We're going to give you points that maybe other people haven't spoken about, give you that inside scoop of what's going on the industry, try and be bullish and move this industry forward. So thank you for watching and have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.